Hi John, if you're there. Nice to see you in the chat. And Willie as well. I'll be with you very shortly. Got Adam on the call as well. We're both going to fill you in on some of the stuff we've been up to recently. But with you in 5 minutes time, just play a bit of F-18 stuff while people join the stream. Hello everyone, good evening. Welcome with the music. Noisy music. I hope you're all well. Bit of a weird one this. Dusting off kit again. I sort of feel like I'm being dragged back in time to those early lockdown streams where I do these things from my studio, not my home, which is where I am now. I could have tidied up a little better, but you'll bear with me, I'm sure. And I'm sort of, getting back into the flow of these kind of winter broadcasts. And I'm hoping to make this a regular, ideally weekly occurrence. So an opportunity to dig back through the archives of videos that we've shot over the last 30 years. And otherwise update you on what's been going on in the Plains TV world. I have got a friend joining me this evening. So Adam Landau, who you'll know from streams throughout the year, is on the call as well. Say hello, Adam. Make sure your audio is there.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah, you should be able to. Yeah, people can hear you. Say hello.
It's no loss if you can't hear me, really.
I was going to make some joke about Adam being a diehard Brazil fan and that he was really, suffering through a bit of aviation and not watching his beloved Brazil, but apparently not a footy fan, Adam.
I was not even aware there was football going on.
Well, I was, and I'm looking forward to catching up on it later. Maybe this won't be a long broadcast, I'll be honest. And who knows? Maybe we'll get some of that 15 minutes of added time that they stick on at the end, no doubt. And good to see so many of you in the chat already. And John, I'll say up front here. So Adam and I headed off to Cotswold Airport last weekend to film the Buccaneer Fast Taxi, the Buccaneer Aviation Group's aircraft. And it's really thanks to John, who's in the chat, for encouraging the Buccaneer Aviation Group to get in touch, etc., that we ended up over there. Adam, you got lucky, and I know John's had this experience as well, of sitting on board the Buccaneer during a run.
Yeah, so I owe particular thanks to John because this was fantastic and completely unexpected experience. They needed to do an extra run in the morning that we hadn't been expecting, and we were setting up our camera equipment, and they said, which one of you is going to sit in the back then? And Ian was very busy with complicated technical stuff that I don't understand, so it had to be me. You can see my view there. That was quite an experience being that close, knowing that engine, you can see in the shot now was running, and I could almost reach out and touch the edge of the engine if I wanted to, which of course I didn't. But yeah, you could feel the power even during a static run.
Yeah, it's quite something, and this is a little bit the stuff that we shot. You shot, in fact, of the fast taxi run. See the water streaming out there, and I hadn't realised this, but there are on the leading edge there is an air. Ducted air from the engine, isn't there, to increase or to reduce the stall speed of the aircraft? I had no idea that existed on the Buccaneer.
Oh, I didn't know much about the Buccaneer at all until the weekend. And it was when we were getting briefed some things to look out for and make sure the camera was focusing on, particularly during the static run, the second run of the day. And I was told there's a little a vent, if you like, along the front of the wing that takes bleed air from the engine and fires it over the top of the wing at very high speed. When the aircraft has been sitting static for a while, as it had been, it collects some rainwater in there. So you might have seen when you were watching it, and the moment the engine started, there was a sort of an explosion of water coming off the top of the wing, and that's what that was.
Yeah, very interesting. And as I say, and I'm similar to you, really. So Buccaneers retired when I was 10. Really, I should be able to remember them flying, but I don't. I know many people in the chat will of course, remember them very fondly, John being one of them. And yeah, clearly the guys down at the Cotswold Airport, big fans of that aeroplane too. Lots of voluntary hours put in to keep those aircraft in that taxiable condition. And I spotted... actually via Facebook, I think, and John's mentioned it there, that there are still 3 airframes out in South Africa, and I think they're on the move at the moment. I think they were part of the
they changed
Mike Beachy head operation.
They changed all owners not all that long ago, and there were whisperings that there would be some kind of restoration back to flying condition. One of them ran its engines once, but I don't think any of them have flown. I don't think the other two have run their engines at all.
No, and John's saying that they hope to fly them. I'm not sure about that, but it would be nice to think that we'd see a Buccaneer in the air again. Now, this prompted me, of course, to dig through the archives. So while people are still trundling into the chat and throwing questions and book suggestions, thank you, William. Big fan of Roland White's work, and I haven't read Phoenix Squadron, so that's presumably Buccaneer subject matter, is it? We'll find out in a minute. Well, I thought I'd dig through the archives. So John said he's hoping to see lots of Buccaneer action tonight. This will be about it, I'm afraid, but it's good stuff from Alconbury in 1993, I think. So yeah, some of the material that's available on the streaming service. And as I was going through finding bits of Buccaneer stuff, I found this, and it's back to back with a couple of Tornado displays, which I've decided to leave in. I'm sure you'll forgive me. Let me just make sure there's a bit of audio so you can hear. This could even be my old man's commentary on this one. We'll find out in a moment. Sorry, get that queued up. Right, let's take a look.
The Blackburn Buccaneer, built as a carrier-borne strike aircraft, was given a new lease of life for the RAF in the late 60s, when the government cancelled an order for F-111 aircraft. The Buccaneer has proved to be a strong, capable aircraft and served with distinction in the Gulf War. This is one of its last ever airshow appearances, as the type will be replaced by the Tornado in 1994. The Panavia Tornado is the result of a joint venture by the UK, Germany and Italy for a multi-role combat aircraft. This RAF example is a GR-1A, the latest version, with sophisticated reconnaissance equipment.
There is just something about a Tornado with its wings back, isn't there? It's not quite a Buccaneer, but honestly, I hope you enjoyed those back to back. Provoked a bit of interesting conversation in the chat there about, very capable aircraft, the Buccaneer. Of course, the Tornado, more modern, but you wouldn't want to land one on an aircraft carrier. Yes, so some really good chat there. And I should first of all welcome Adam G, a supporter, a member on the YouTube channel. That's a very nice way of supporting us. That clip I've just played is, of course, from our streaming service at watch.planestv.com. That includes content stretching right back to that sort of era, so 1993, and a little bit earlier as well. I was capturing VHS tapes in the early part of the year, and I expect to do a bit more. We have reconditioned some M2 machines, and that's the broadcast standard equipment that we were using through the 90s. I say we, rather it was my father who was narrating that piece there. He's still going strong and probably sat at home watching this. He'll probably pop up in the chat in a minute and tell us what I'm getting wrong. But yeah, those M2 machines are now up and running, and that's going to be a fun project this winter. And I'll play a little bit later on. I'm messing around with AI upscaling, so artificial intelligence fueled upscaling of that content. It was all shot very well for the time, well-tracked aeroplanes and, okay, a bit of wobbly cam here and there and that lot. But actually, it really does add something. I saw Chris in the chat saying you're upscaling to 4K on the TV and it looks great. And the idea is that doing it at my end should improve things even more. Adam, what do you make of those? I heard you going, I wish I'd seen these.
Yeah, no, it just makes me feel like I'm too young watching some of this back and wishing I could have been around to enjoy it, because I only started going to air shows properly in 2016, 17. The Tornadoes had virtually gone by then, and Buccaneers had long gone. Didn't get to enjoy any of this.
Well, I can certainly remember lots of nice Tornado stuff. A couple of quite impressive F3 displays, but probably the one that sticks out in my mind, it links into Cosford actually, which we'll talk about in a minute, is the Italian display, which we did see at, did we see at Riyadh as well?
Saw it at Riyadh as well, in the most appalling weather conditions, and somehow managing to get a display in under a very low cloud base, lots of rain around as well, and that was quite dramatic. Yeah,
but a nice bright paint scheme, lovely Italian flair on that one. But yes, stop going on about Tornadoes. Really, we don't have a subject matter this evening. The idea is that we cover a bit of news and find some excuses to dig through the archive, and otherwise just provoke conversation in the chat, which I do enjoy looking at. I'm trying to remember, someone did say something.
Well, John mentioned something that I touched on earlier but didn't explain properly. He said boundary layer control. That's what I was talking
yes.
with the vents along the leading edge of the Buccaneer's wing, and not describing it very well. So if anyone was wondering why on earth do they have that system, it sounds awfully complicated. What is it for? It's effectively to fool the wing into thinking it's going faster than it is going. It makes the stall speed about 10 knots slower than it otherwise would be, which is good if you're landing on an aircraft carrier. So that's what I was doing a bad job of explaining about 5 minutes ago.
No, I think you did well, and I'd like to think that most of our audience would understand why you'd want to increase the speed of airflow over the top of wing, but who knows, maybe not. One thing I did spot in the chat, Gareth, thank you. I presume you filled in the survey I sent out via email newsletter. If you're not subscribed to the email newsletter, there's a link in the description below. That was a survey focused very specifically on what TVs everybody uses, what you guys use. And yes, the thinking there, Gareth, is let's get this service on a TV app, on a mobile phone app, and all the rest of it. So that's the aim there, being to make the live viewing of air shows on that service a bit more user-friendly and enjoyable. Hopefully not losing any of the fun of the chat functionality of the existing site and things. And I should say I'm at very early stages of this. It's an expensive process. Thank you to those of you who are still subscribers on the on-demand service. You are helping develop it and make it what it will be in the future, which will be a comprehensive airshow coverage and all the rest of it. So that's what that was about. Another thank you, Adam, for joining as a member here on YouTube. And I saw you mention that you have had a sit in a presumably Buccaneer or maybe Tornado at the Yorkshire Air Museum. They probably have both, don't they? They certainly have Tornado. must have a Buccaneer up there. I know Kelvin, who knows, maybe he's watching, but he helped out with our access, well, organising our coverage of the Buccaneer Fast Taxi last weekend. Member of the Buccaneer Aviation Group, also helps out at Elvington, which is where, I think I'm right in saying, the Yorkshire Air Museum is. Certainly all ties together in my brain anyway. And John asks, did your dad film the one flown into Brough? They had to put arrestor wires on the runway as it had never landed or taken off there before. How interesting. No, he didn't. I can fairly clearly say. Yeah, he's filmed plenty of other bits and pieces, as you well know, but no, not that one that I can recall. And I noticed this too. Someone saying they can hear the C-130 in the background. Artful, yeah, saying that. And a lovely sound, isn't it? Yes. Soon to be, well, they'll be around for a long time to come, even if not in RAF hands. And someone said it's a great idea, including Adam. So John's up the stakes, Adam. So you better. Of them. Well, you've got to deliver now, you see. And Wish saying they only started attending air shows regularly in 2015. And just catching XH558. So the bit of material at the end that I've used, the old AI enhancement thing, software was on a Black Friday sale, if you must know. So it's very fresh, and I've just tried upscaling a little bit of material from 1993 again. This shot at Bruntingthorpe of a Vulcan Fast Taxi. Obviously that aircraft in the news at the moment regarding the future, or the demise, we should say, of Robin Hood Airport. We'll cover that at the end when we take a look at that, and I'll maybe do a little back-to-back comparison, or maybe I won't. I'll probably just play it, and you can tell me what you think of the upscaling effect. Right. Well, bit of news then. So, go on, Adam.
I was just going to say, like Wish, I did manage to catch the tail end of Vulcan, but I don't think I really appreciated air shows and understood what I was watching until a couple of years afterwards. And in much the same vein, Ryan Evans was saying he started going regularly in 2017. And wouldn't it be great to have a time machine? Yes. And can I bring my 4K camera back with me?
Yeah, well, sadly, all we have is my old man's archive of SVHS and M2 tapes, but hey, it's fun to enjoy in that way, and a bit of upscaling. So what I've done is upscaled it to HD width. So the old SD formats would have been around about 720 pixels across. Have I got that the right way around? I think so. So it's not split hairs on the pixels, but it's also done. Okay. Getting really nerdy here, guys, but TV formats were interlaced, which means you get one half of the fields, the lines, if you like, in one frame and one half in the next. Let's not go into the detail of why, but it ends up creating a 25 frame a second video, but they're kind of split, and it's weird to help with pushing video down, well, transmitting video efficiently. And the upscaling system also turns it into 50 frames a second, which looks quite effective, actually. It's very impressive. Anyway, I'll save that all to the end. I'll be showing you 20 frames a second anyway, so you won't actually get the full force of that. Anyway, I was trying to make this fresh and quick and interesting and novel and of the moment. So let's have a little bit of news.
And you got me in to help, and it all went downhill from there.
No, I'm the one doing the rambling at the moment, and it's the chat. I'll blame the chat for sending me off on these tangents. One bit of airshow news we did hear recently was the Yakovlevs due to disband next year. Yeah,
they're going into their final display season, which was a surprise announcement, really, given that it's only fairly recently that they've developed their six-ship routine. But yeah, they've been around for, I think, since 1998. They've been around for a while. They've done about hundreds of shows.
They have. It's interesting going back because we haven't seen them that regularly recently, but they've done a lot overseas, of course.
They have, and all of their six ships have been overseas. They've only done them at 4 events, and that was 2 in China and 2 in France. Still yet to see it in the UK, but that will change next year because I know the Midlands Air Festival has booked them, and that is intended to be a 6-ship, and there's at least one other European 6 ship that's been booked as well in France. I don't know about the rest, but they do say there's plenty more on their schedule still to be announced.
Oh, that sounds promising. And when I went, so I'm going to play a little bit of Yakovlevs. Why not? It's a good excuse to. So I did a little word search on our archive to find a recent display. I can't see that we've seen them since 2014, which is crazy. But yeah, you know, a decent excuse to play a bit of their display. I'll take a look at the chat while that's playing. So this material from Cosford, 2014, as I say. Let's dig that out. And the familiar sound of Sean Maffitt commentating through this.
We round the show off with another excellent aerobatic team. The always professional, always reliable and very exciting Yakovlevs.
There they go.
Jez Hopkinson is the leader in the front there in the Yak Super 52. That's a 2-seater, and the other Yak 50s single-seaters. On his right is Yak 2, Jim Schofield. On his left, Yak 3, Den Harkin. And in the box at the back, Yak 4, Nick Barnard.
So there's a loop completed. Water closer coming up here. That's a loop with a roll inserted, so it changes the axis of the display. But soon they put it back onto the main display axis, and pull the aircraft up into a wing. There's their first. Two aircraft going up and further splitting, pulling 5G, even as he goes over the top. The outside pilot is varying from 3G to -1G in order to use full rate. Rejoin.
They're in Vic formation. He's cutting the corner, and he'll then have to lose that excess speed and slot into the box. He does that by rolling round. The show's not over yet. Reversing, and down they swoop. Yak 1 and 2 on the left, 3 and 4 on the right.
Chasing 1 and 2. Because their next manoeuvre is going to be a caterpillar loop from the right. That's as close as they need to get to this. Caterpillar loop. Isn't that lovely?
There he is, rolling round the smoke trails of the leading 3. The rollover. So this is the classic way of ending a formation flight. Yak 1 braking. Yak 2. Yak 3. And Yak 4.
Yeah, those guys closed out the display in 2014. And as I say, I probably have filmed them since, but I couldn't immediately find where. And lots of great chats going on in the chat. Do join the chat. Lovely, friendly bunch, as you can tell. A couple of people mentioning my nasty interlacing. And yes, there is a nasty interlacing effect. I've been reminded of a little idiosyncrasy in my setup here that I did solve last year and forgot all about. So I plugged in the easy way and we're back into a little bit of interlacing, but hopefully not detracting too much from the enjoyment. Adam, the Yakovlevs, you're a bit of a display team geek, aren't you?
I am, but actually I have a question for once about display teams, which is, as someone mentioned in the chat, the Yaks were at Bournemouth. I know they were. We were at Bournemouth on a different day, unfortunately. They were there on the Thursday, and we were there Friday, Saturday. Was it a 2-ship or a 4-ship at Bournemouth? How many aircraft did they have? That is my...
That would be interesting to know.
In Canberra, but I don't think it was a 6 at Bournemouth. I'm 95% sure, but I'd love to know how many there were.
Yeah, we should make a bit of an effort to film the guys again. We were talking earlier about, wouldn't it be nice to have a time machine and go back and shoot a bit of 4K video of that stuff in the 90s. Well, we haven't shot the Yakovlevs in anything like 4K, sadly. Maybe next year's the chance. And a couple of people mentioning about Yeovilton, of course. So, well, actually, Cosford then. So that's a little bit of material from Cosford 2014. The event released their date last year, June. Sorry, not last year. Last week, they announced that there'll be... We'll get this right one day. So it is. And that's presumably a Sunday still, is it? So... Sunday, 11th of June. I certainly hope to be there. I was chatting to the guys that organised the show recently and missed out on last year. You and I did go, didn't we? Did a bit of filming. And you have been handed a hard drive full of rushes, and we are going to put together a bit of a British Air shows, aren't we?
Yes. I'm going to start on it on Sunday. That is
nice.
We'll begin.
Fantastic. And there will then be a bit of a process of it coming back to me, and that's when things slow down, gents. So doing that final polish and export on the project, which is where we're at with Air Tattoo. Actually, we opened this stream with a bit of Swiss F-18 display material, which is the refined edit actually, so some nice onboard material, etc. So the individual edits are done. We're just refining the full 3-hour long highlights program from Air Tattoo. So not one we're releasing on Blu-ray and DVD anymore, but that will go on the streaming service. So yes, good to see the calendar filling up for next year. Cosford, 11th of June.
To hopefully going to Cosford again in some capacity. I enjoyed it last year. I know it was a particularly challenging one, but they pulled out all the stops in the end. I had a lovely day out. I got my answer from the wonderful people in the chat, Artful and Connor Redshaw, confirming it was a 4-ship at Bournemouth.
Okay.
So that's my curiosity dealt with.
Well, thank you, gents. Yeah, good. It's good stuff there. So we were crowdsourcing our commentary at the Buccaneer Day a bit, weren't we? Yeah, I didn't manage to do my quick scan of the Wikipedia page to have something interesting to say about Buccaneer, so I relied entirely on the chat and what I could drag out of my own memory. But yeah, chat always useful. Thank you for the info on the Yakovlevs. Maybe we'll at least see 4 next year at some point.
A couple of other teams as well while the Yakovlevs footage was playing out. John asked about the NAT display team. I think he was asking whether they're still around. Yes, they are. They've got at least one show planned next year, but I don't think I can say which one it is. And Artful asked if the Strike Masters were still around. They were around as well, but they did most of their shows or a number of their shows this year as a solo because one of their pilots is moving on to a new and very exciting project next year. So they started as a 2-ship, then they went down to a solo in the middle of the year as one of their pilots moved on. And then they got back up to a pair for some of the late season shows. So they're still very much around.
The new and exciting project, is that not public yet? We're not allowed to talk about it. We're doing a terrible job here. Okay. Well, then that's fine. Then we shouldn't, because they'll want to do that in their own time. We're not being very good here. Like the whole point of, you're a trained journalist, for crying out loud, Adam, and you won't reveal what display team was it that you were? Oh, the Nats. They've got one booked, but you won't tell us where. Well, maybe we'll squeeze a few thumbs up from people to spread these rumours and bookings around. But better keep our powder dry for the time being. The chat. Yeah, so a lot of focus there on Yakovlevs as well. So we should give Paul Johnson his dues for putting in a freedom of information request in with the Navy to find out whether there's going to be an air day next year, because wouldn't we all like to know? And the response was, there are no plans. There isn't a contractor in place to put the show on. So, where are we? December, really, if you want to book any RAF assets, you want to book any foreign air arms, really. Yeah.
With the RAF.
Yeah. So it really, all the signs are there that sadly we won't be getting an air day next year, and who knows what the future holds there. It's certainly not looking promising, which does mean my sort of focus has turned to Europe and the rest of the world, I'll be honest. But that's all good for you, the audience. We'll hopefully find some interesting events to cover next year, in spite of the slight decreases around the UK circuit. Gosford then. So I've got another little bit of video. I might as well find that now. For anyone that was watching the Buccaneer stream at the weekend, it was just last weekend, wasn't it? Goodness. Saturday, yes. You'll have noticed the mid-air squadron, Canberra, sat beside the Buccaneer. I'm told that bit of hard standing that they were all positioned on is the old Red Arrows Nat area. That's where the area that they'd used to crew in and head out. And there's a nice little kink, raised bit of concrete at the edge of the hard standing there to stop the sort of tilted, the jet pipe of the Nat from burning the grass on the edge of the, I keep calling it hard standing. It is concrete, I think, rather than tarmac or anything over there. So yeah, quite a nice little history to that spot that the Buccaneer and the Canberra has found itself in. That PR9 did do a few years on the airshow circuit, and as I was dragging out that Yakovlevs material from 2014, I was reminded that the Canberra and the Hunter from Mid-Air Squadron displayed at Gosford. What did I say? You're shaking your head at me, Adam. I thought I misspoke and I was talking rubbish, which wouldn't be the first. But no, so Canberra and Hunter, a nice little sequence from 2014 at the Gosford show, and this is one of the best Canberra displays that I can recall. Whilst the aircraft was in mid-air, and sadly no longer, and now living out its days in noisy company of two Buccaneers. But let's wind the clock back to 2014 for a flying display of the Canberra and Hunter.
And look out to your left now to see the magnificent sight of a PR9 Canberra, a T7 Hunter in the colours of the Mid-Air Squadron. Dave Piper flying the PR9 Canberra, Chris Heames flying the T7 Hunter. The Canberra with two Rolls-Royce Avon 206s and the Hunter with one Rolls-Royce Avon 100. Canberra's engine's a bit more powerful than the Hunter's, and they've got two of them. And isn't that a smashing sound? And don't they look lovely in that silver colour scheme? Now I think they're going to turn away from us and come in from the far side of the airfield for a split. Once again, there's that lovely skyscape. See, airplanes look so much better against a sky like that than against a plain blue sky. So here they are coming back towards us. Well, now with me is John Martin, who's one of the engineers responsible for these magnificent aeroplanes. Is that right, John?
Yes, I am. I'm the senior maintenance engineer of C2 Aviation, who were the company that put the Canberra back to the skies and helped get the XL577 T7 Hunter back in the air as well.
And here is the Hunter coming in from our left. Nice 4-point roll. I know from my experience with the Vulcan how expensive it is to keep these things going, so somebody's got to be very generous.
He's got deep pockets, which is lovely.
Good. I think this is Chris's oblique loop, which is a loop-the-loop manoeuvre, but lying slightly on its side. Because the Hunter, not that agile an aircraft, having to do a very large loop compared with what we've been seeing with some of the other aircraft. But elegant nonetheless, and it shows that the cloud base is quite high enough to be able to get on with this. Britain's most successful post-war fighter, the main frontline RAF day fighter during the 1950s. Lovely topside view. So the Hunter then delivered to 23 nations. Very successful. And here comes the Canberra. Crossing over with the Hunter. Sorry, I nearly made the mistake of talking over the Blue Note. It's not done, is it?
Their last pass, you will hear both of them together.
Excellent. So, back to the Canberra coming back in from the right. And if you think the cockpit looks a bit wonky, that's because it is offset to one side. It's a two-person crew. This is a photo reconnaissance aircraft, pilot and a navigator. Pilot sitting on the left-hand side of the aircraft, but with just a little skinny cockpit actually mounted on the left-hand side, and the navigator sitting down in the nose with a window or only a very tiny one.
He has two tiny windows, left and right, and that's all the view he has.
It was originally called the English Electric A1, flew in 1949, 3 years before the Vulcan, and it became the Canberra. Hang on, I'll shut up. It became the Canberra because Australia was the first export customer for this aircraft.
Yeah, he's coming in for his dirty pass now.
Ah, that's an Air Force word, isn't it? Dirty pass means the airframe is not cleaned up, so it doesn't mean to say it's got particularly grubby, but he has got the wheels down and probably some flap down as well, I suspect. Did I see a bomb bay open there?
It's you do. It's actually the flare bay on this type of Canberra.
Yeah, I didn't think it carried bombs.
No. It was used for flares. When they had a typical a different photographic system.
About 20,000 pounds of static thrust being unleashed on us there, and here comes the Hunter again. John, thank you very much indeed for telling us all about your lovely babies.
It's been a pleasure.
Well, wasn't that splendid?
Yeah, great display that, and sadly missed, but quite nice to see the old Canberra sat there on the tarmac at Cotswold Airport next to the Buccaneers. But yeah, I'd rather see it at an air show, I'll be honest. But we had a few good years out of it. Not one you'll have caught then, Adam?
I did see it. I know I saw it because I've got a very poor quality photograph that I took on a £30 compact camera that I was using at the time. But I have no memory of it, sadly. It would have been Waddington, the last Waddington, I think I saw it at, and possibly Farnborough the same year. I think it may have done both.
Oh, wow. Yeah, and Waddington, another show that we sadly missed, but we'll stop going on about things we've missed. Or shall we? Quite enjoy this reminiscing of the older material. I see lots of people in the chat doing just that. Gosh, what was the thing I was going to refer to? Thank you, Chris, by the way. You mustn't do that. You don't owe me anything. I owe you more thank yous than that, but thank you for the super chat and saying that it cheers up the winter for you. Well, it does me too, doing this sort of thing. As I said at the outset, I'm going to try and get going on a bit of a weekly basis and trying to make it fresh and newsy, but also finding excuses to play back a bit of airshow action. Why not? I should move my chat over here so I don't have to stare off into the distance. That's better. Everyone's saying that they miss Hunters. Me too, yeah, Hunters particularly at shows, because of course there are Hunters out there that could well be still on the circuit if it wasn't for Shoreham in 2015. And I agree with Willie, the XE603, so the Raspberry Ripple single-seat aircraft that Gerald Williams flew for a few years, I think. A real Blue Note creator, that one. And special site wherever it went.
I saw we've had some requests for future shows.
Go on.
I've seen 3 requests. Nimrod, Vixen, F-22.
I've just spotted that Nimrod request from Monty, and it's a great request because it was quite a dramatic display, sometimes too dramatic. But the flares on the...
Are you thinking of the experimental one that did one display at, was it Jersey?
MRA4, yeah, we did see.
Nimrods?
No, I'm not. No, that was a straight and level fly past. But the OG, well, not so OG because it's basically a Comet, but the Nimrod... demonstrations from the RAF showing that massive bomb bay, very steep climb out, heavy bank on the top of the climb out, and pop a couple of flares was quite dramatic. I'm trying to think where our better material of that would have been. Something I always like sharing from that period as well is, sorry, it's me talking. I've got a shot of Adam staring off into the middle distance there, juggling too much as ever. The Hercules displays, the sort of tactical demonstrations of the Hercs with a couple of Land Rovers rolling off the back. They're always quite good fun to share. And it was so commonplace. The bit of material I'm going to show you at the end, which is some AI upscaled Vulcan fast taxi material at Bruntingthorpe. At that show were also the Tornado, the Harrier, the Red Arrows, the Falcons, Hercules tactical demonstration. And you'd be very, very lucky to get a Typhoon demo at your air show these days, let alone a Red Arrows one. So, yeah, sad to miss out on those ones these days, but gives me an excuse to drag the video out from the archive.
Yeah, the idea that a Hercules solo display was in any way commonplace seems quite alien nowadays. They're so rare. And you think about how many countries there are that operate the Hercules and how few of them display it on anything approaching a regular basis.
Yeah, indeed. I see someone asking about, have we got any Vixen material? You'll have to go back to my last studio-based live stream, which I did check through briefly before digging out these bits of video, because I suddenly realised I was probably selecting from the same tapes that I've recently captured. And I mean, those are the most recent captures, would have been last winter. During the summer, we just get too busy. Yeah, on that classic jet live stream, there's some really quite nice Cvixen material from Biggin Hill, I think. Included some onboard material. The aircraft, you mentioned, I think it's Wish in the chat, mentioned the Red Bull colours. Well, it was in navy colours by that point. Yeah, some nice stuff. Yeah, Chris saying, when did the RAF last display a Hercules? Wow. You've got to go back a long way, I think. They'd have got busy during... Gosh, I cannot think the last time I'd have seen one. I've probably seen one involved maybe at Waddington, dropping the Falcons maybe, fairly late on, but not a tactical demo. Yeah, it'd be nice to see the A400 do something similar, wouldn't it? But they're also stretched and busy. And
it would. The French do a fantastic A400M solo display.
In fact, we saw that at... In fact, we saw a German aircraft at Ostrava, didn't we? Which did
We did.
A pretty nice display, actually. The aircrafts are very... I can think back to the Airbus displays at the likes of Farnborough and Ela, Berlin. In fact, that would have been the debut. Well, the first time we saw a really nice dramatic wing over from an A400, and you just think, okay, this thing's got it. It would be a very nice aeroplane to see displayed by the RF. I'm sure there's plenty of crew who'd like to do it, but yeah, busy bunch. And Hawk as well, yeah, that was good.
Yeah, and about to become even busier once the Hercs do go.
Indeed. Right, well, I'm going to show you. So I played a little bit of the... it's from the same video. No, it's not. It's from the same year. So I played a little bit. In fact, if I just wind the audio down, I'll just play that bit of Buccaneer again. This is me nerding out on artificial intelligence, up-resed old content. Take the audio down on this one so we don't get it overdoing things. But so this is the old... Turn it right down. This is Alconbury 1993, the Buccaneer material I played earlier. And what I'm going to cut to, okay, it will help by virtue of the fact that I've zoomed in on it. I've removed the pillar box black edges, but it's also gone through that AI machine to improve the quality of it. So let's take that now. It's Vulcan at Bruntingthorpe. This might lead into a conversation about XH558 now at Doncaster Robin Hood, or what is at the moment Doncaster Robin Hood. But as I say, this material now upscaled and hopefully looking a bit better quality than the stuff you're looking at now. Let's take a look.
There's no shortage of volunteers to work on her, and many of them were the original ground crew. The aeroplane will certainly require many man-hours to keep her in working condition. It'll be a costly business too, having to run the engines periodically, and even more so to put her through a major service and make modifications to the wing spar. Essential work, though, if we're able to see her in the air again. But if she can draw crowds like this for ground runs, just imagine what she could do flying. We conclude part one of our video then with another look at X-Ray Hotel 558 in action.
Yeah, Yeah, so I think that I think she got airborne there. I don't know. Let me put Adam's audio back on.
Oh, you're right.
So,
I think you're right. I've just
you watched
I've
that.
got my phone, which is showing a slightly delayed feed, and also the chat. And as you said, I think it got airborne. I saw it on my phone just as the rear wheels seemed to lift off by a few millimeters.
Yeah, nice bit of commentary there about, you know, the plans for the aircraft, and just imagine what it would be like to see her fly again. Well, of course we did, and we had very many years of fantastic flying from XH558 post RAF service life. Sadly, no longer, as we know, now grounded at Doncaster Sheffield Airport. Well, that's not going to be an airport anymore, and there was talk of last weekend being the aircraft's last engine run, but I understand there will be perhaps one more opportunity for that, and I'm hoping we might get to cover it. The future for the aircraft, I believe it's the plan is to dismantle, and there are a couple of locations that the aircraft might end up, and there's talks with Heritage Loss Refund about that at the moment. Don't know how much of that was private conversation and how much is fit for sharing. If I start sharing things and people start telling me off, then we'll at some point work out what is fair to share. But yeah, sad to see the airfield go. I don't think anyone could anyone have predicted that. I mean, predicting that the hangar might not come to fruition might have been on the cards. But yeah, sad to see the guys really up against it and needing to leave by some point next year. Interesting you point, well, me noticing and you spotting, and people in the chat maybe talking about the wheels lifting off there during a fast taxi. I've got a few frames of video as well from it was either Waddington or Lucas, where the weather or there was a component on the aircraft that was preventing the aircraft from displaying. But yeah, fast taxi, lift the nose, and just a little bit of couple of moments with all 16 wheels off the ground. I can't think how many it's got. But yeah, I hope that was interesting, playing that video back. I'll just play it again. It's really subtle, the difference that we're talking about here. I nerd out on it, of course I do. But there's a lot of quality being pulled out of these old tapes that, it's got me quite excited. Now, I think there's more I could do with the actual colours of this video. But in terms of the quality, I'm quite excited about what we might be able to do with some of those older tapes. So if you'd like to follow me, I'll tell you what, let's fast forward it to the wheels lifting off again, and we can all make a judgment. Sorry, this isn't very professional.
Okay, watch closely.
Yeah, watch closely. This is 1993 at Bruntingthorpe. So the chute's out. That's airborne. Lovely job.
They come to the ground there.
Very nice. There's some nice oohs and ahs in the background as well. I enjoyed that. What was I going on about? Yes, so excited about upscaling, creating frames, deinterlacing in a very nice way some of that archive content. If you'd like to follow me on that journey, email newsletter is the best way to go. And I'll gradually, as you know, be gradually bringing that to the streaming service at, you know the address, watch.planestv.com. What have we got in the chat then? So I've not much more to go. This is the first of what I hope will be many of these off-season live streams. We'll be doing them weekly. Adam, thank you very much for joining and filling us in for some Yakovlev news and bits and pieces. The future ones won't necessarily be evening ones like this. I intend to do a couple of day ones to test, and because I realised I've got meetings in some Thursday evenings. That's the way life goes. Let's get rid of that. But yes, hope you've enjoyed this. And if you have requests for content that you'd like to see, or subject matters that you'd like to see me cover, it doesn't take much to encourage me to do that. You can, if you've signed up to the email newsletter, you can reply to those. They come directly to me, and I really enjoy getting into conversation about what we do. And it helps develop ideas for future live broadcasts. same applies. Well, do you know, I did spot one inquiry earlier on about Rich Goodwin. So I did a bit of filming with him last winter. When would that have been? I think it would have been early part of the year, maybe April time, maybe. There's a video on our YouTube channel about his... he ran both of the jet engines for the first time, and we did a bit of filming. Just a little taxi down the runway, not leaping into the air like the Vulcan. Still paperwork, basically, holding up that project. I think pretty well all, maybe a bit of engineering work still, in terms of paperwork, engineering work, still to be done. But I think a strong hope to get that aircraft. If you're not familiar, it's a Pit Special with a couple of jet engines carefully engineered onto the side. I keep saying strapped to the side, but that would not be fair to the to Rich and other people who've been involved in doing the engineering work on that project. Yeah, so watch this space on that one. I did see Rich last week, and sounding optimistic and excited about what the aircraft's going to do when it gets going. So yeah, I'll keep my ear to the ground on that one, and it won't take too many excuses to get me up to Gloucester, where he's based, to do a bit of filming there. Likewise, an open invitation. As I said at the outset, big thank you to John Seymour, you can see in the chat there, who encouraged the dialogue between myself and the Buccaneer Aviation Group to get us up there last weekend to film the Fast Taxi. First time I've seen a Buccaneer active for 3 decades, probably. So, yeah, thank you, John. Really appreciate the encouragement there. And I invite anyone else to do the same if you've got interesting projects you think deserve covering. So, yes, I think we will wrap that up. I'll put a bit of music on. And I'll ask Adam to say if is there anything that you'd like to promote, anything you're working on at the moment, your own YouTube channel, etc.
If I can do one tiny shameless bit of self-promotion.
Shame away.
I did put my end-of-year highlights compilation together yesterday, and that went out online, and I'm proud of it. So do go spend 3 minutes of your time having a look at that, and that will make me very happy.
The channel name being?
This is Flight.
This is Flight on YouTube. Yeah, I saw your tweet, and forgive me, I haven't gone and looked at it yet, Adam, but I will do that. Make a point of doing that. One last look at the chat in case anyone else has got anything interesting to say. I'm sorry that I'm all interlaced. I'll plug it into a different socket next time, and I won't be. Nuke Dude asks, what's my favourite aeroplane? What's your favourite aeroplane, Ad? Oh, I know what your favourite aeroplane. Don't ask him what his favourite aeroplane is.
Dahir Sakata TBM 930.
Oh, that boring favourite aeroplane. I think I have categories of favourite aeroplane. I'd like to own a Yak 18T. I would like to see fly an English Electric Lightning. Favourite aeroplane? I don't know. No, I'll think about that a bit longer. It changes from day to day.
Is a good shout.
No, Adam, we're not going GA aeroplanes as favourite aeroplanes. That's got to be something. There's plenty. Do you know what? Westland Whirlwind is a bit of a, something I'd love to. Yeah, it's a cool aeroplane. And actually, it does change, doesn't it? Doesn't everyone's? You suddenly find, like last winter, I was really interested in the First World War Fokker aircraft, and I couldn't get past the wonder of a DR1. So that was last winter, and it'll be something different next week, I'm sure. That's a convoluted answer to a simple question, but yeah, good stuff. All right, I think we will wrap it up. We're aiming for an hour, and we're an hour and 2 minutes now. Or I wasn't aiming for anything. I really just keen to get all the kit plugged back in. So at least we've managed that much. And we even got Adam on the stream. One last bye from Adam.
Goodbye. And maybe see you next week.
Yeah, I hope so. All right, everybody. Thank you very much for tuning in. I hope it's been enjoyable. As I say, do subscribe to the email newsletter, and like and subscribe here on YouTube. The email newsletter you can reply to, and get a conversation going about things you'd like to see us cover in the future. Thanks very much again for joining. I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye. It's a slightly awkward end to a live stream. I was hoping that would have black behind it, but here we all still are. We'll do better next time. Oh, it does have a fade to black button. I'll do that.